So I'm going to talk about genetic improvement. Like Robert said, I run the performance program for the Canadian Angus Association. That's where your genetic evaluations and EPDs come from. Those are fed by phenotypes that all of our members measure and collect and then submit into the association. So phenotypes, genotypes, and pedigree information. And let's talk about why we want to drive genetic improvement. Because in every population, you have a lot of calves or animals that perform as average, in the middle. But you also have a proportion that perform below average and a proportion that perform above average. And we know from basics of genetics and animal breeding that the resultant calf of a mating is typically the average of parents. So if you mated parents that had the genetic probability or potential that's above average of the population for specific traits, that you're going to move that population average higher for those specific traits. And we have genetic evaluations for traits that are maternal, like calving ease. We just talked about, Dr. Windar just talked about the impact of having calving difficulties. We can actually select for genetic potential of better calving ease, of milking ability, docility, better feet, mature weight. We have a suite of growth traits as well as carcass quality. And the point is that every generation should have better genetic potential than the generation before. So this is a busy slide and there's lots on it, but I'll go through it slowly. One of the biggest things to take away from this slide, though, is how to use EPDs. So I have an example here. Bull A has a birth weight EPD of 2.5 and a weaning weight EPD of 50. So these are in pounds. Weight 1450 at sale date. Birth weight EPD of 2.5 and weaning weight EPD of 50 pounds. Bull B, weighed actually more at sale date. Same birth weight EPD, 2.5, weaning weight EPD of 30 pounds. So the best way to use EPDs, if I just looked at Bull A, looked at his EPDs, doesn't really tell me anything. They're comparative. You need to use either the breed average or another bull. Typically when a commercial producer asks me, is this a good bull? My questions are, well, what are your cows like? What's your environment like? Tell me a bull that you liked. Tell me a bull that you've used in your environment that you liked, and then we'll compare to him. So this is how you would use an EPD. You'd compare these numbers. And what this is telling you right here is that on average, if these two bulls were bred to the same cow herd and their calves were given the same opportunity to develop weaning weight, on average, Bull A's progeny would weigh 20 pounds more at weaning. And what the rest of the slide tells you for this example is it does the math for you at $2.25 per pound, what that translates to in economic value. So even though this bull weighed more, Bull B weighed more on sale day, his genetic potential for growth was different from Bull A. And that's basically what the EPD is telling you, is what's the genetic potential of an animal? Not what does an animal weigh himself, because that's a product of the genetics and the environment, so management, but what's the genetic potential that he is going to pass on to his calves? So there's a catch here, and that's what I want to talk about with you today. The catch is accuracy. And this is a conversation that I have frequently during bull sale season. So I thought it would be good to talk about it with you at this time. So EPDs are calculated using pedigree, performance, and genomic information. When bulls are typically purchased, they're yearling age and they don't have a lot of progeny or a lot of information on them. So the accuracy on their EPDs is actually low. As you get more information, like animals start having calves, and so then there's more performance information on those animals, then the accuracy of their EPDs changes and it goes up. So I have an example here again. Now we have bull A, yearling weight EPD of 100 pounds. Bull B, yearling weight EPD of 100 pounds also. But look at the difference in the accuracy of these two animals. So I'm going to show you what is called the possible change table. This is the possible change table. It's available for all the traits that you have EPDs for. I've just screenshotted a small portion of it so that it's not overwhelming, but this is what I want to show you. So this yearling weight EPD of 100 pounds at 10% accuracy. What does that really mean? That means, have a look at the possible change table right here. So 10% accuracy, yearling weight EPD, okay? And it shows you 23 pounds. So this means that this EPD could change plus or minus 23 pounds. That's the range that we think. We think the TBV, which is the true breeding value of the animal, is somewhere within this range. So now if you're making a selection decision based on this EPD, it kind of tells you what to expect. If you have a bull with a yearling weight EPD of 100 pounds, but it's 90% accurate, then have a look at this row here. You have 90% accuracy for yearling weight EPD, and the possible change is 2.6 pounds. So this range has tightened up, and you know that the true breeding value of that animal is somewhere in here. That shows you how much more reliable the EPD gets as the accuracy goes up. So that's the crux or the catch in using EPDs, is that it's our best prediction with the data that we have. But it's really important to look at that accuracy so that you kind of know the actual range of that true breeding value. So what can we do to increase this accuracy? So at the office, we do everything we can. We make sure we record things accurately. We try and use the best animal models possible and genetic evaluation possible to predict EPDs accurately. But this is truly a team sport. And a lot of it depends on our members and on all of you. So this is where I wanted to spend most of our time today, talking about what we can do to increase the accuracy of our EPDs. The first place to start is accurate pedigree information. We at Canadian Angus probably have the most stringent requirements for parent verification. We use a lot of DNA technology for parent verification. So if you can imagine, if pedigrees are 8% wrong, that's sort of the rule of thumb in livestock, is 8% of the pedigrees are wrong. That already takes away 8% of your accuracy, right? If you have probability that the dam that you've recorded as the dam isn't right, you've already changed that accuracy. So recording accurate pedigree information is the foundation. Then we need to measure traits. So sometimes people will call me and they're looking for carcass trait EPDs, but there's not actually any phenotypes, any measured traits for carcass quality. And so it's really frustrating when somebody wants to buy a bull maybe, and know what maybe his genetic potential might be for marbling, but doesn't know what that could be. But there's nothing there with which to make that prediction. So we need to measure traits that are important to us. And then sometimes I talk to people and they take the weight, they take a mature cow weight, for example, but they've never submitted it. So not only do we have to measure traits, but we have to record that data. And then we have to make sure we record that data accurately. So one of the barriers, let's say, for people using EPDs is they've tried them once and it wasn't accurate, or maybe they didn't look at the accuracy, or maybe they just don't believe that their neighbor is accurately recording data. So it's really important to record data accurately, because you know that adage about garbage in, garbage out? That's absolutely true in this case. The next really important thing when recording performance information is to record correct management group information. So when we calculate EPDs, we compare individual animals' performance to their contemporary group average. And we make those contemporary groups using management information plus information like sex or ET or twins, things like that. You know, sex, for example, you don't want to be comparing heifer calves to bull calves, for example. But if members, when they submit their weaning weights, for example, put all their calves in group 1, but actually half the calves were fed extra, for example, that's going to skew the data, right? That's going to make us compare animals that didn't have the same opportunity to develop weaning weight. So what I recommend is that members put all their calves in group 1 and then remove calves that were sick or that were treated differently and put them in separate groups, okay? Another thing members can do is use current genetics and linkage. So it's easier to predict genetic potential, of course, on animals that are used in different environments, so that we can really estimate what that environmental impact is on those traits. And then the last thing is genomic technology. So this has a cost to it, of course, because we pay a lab to process testing. But let's talk about the genomic technology that we use at Canadian Angus. So we have a panel that's specifically created for Angus. So that's Canadian Angus and also the American Angus Association. We partnered together to create a panel called the Angus GS Panel. Angus GS stands for Angus Genomic Selection. It's $45 a head, and it includes parent verification. So then that gives you your accurate pedigree, and it gives you more information. And so what the genomic panel does is it helps us share phenotypes between animals that share genetic relationships. So it allows us to calculate EPDs for traits that are difficult or expensive to measure or can only be measured later in life, like, for example, residual average daily gain. So that's feed efficiency. Grow safe bunks are really expensive, but if you've tested some animals on grow safe bunks for feed intake and then they're genotyped, and then you genotype other animals that are related, we can share those phenotypes between those animals. So it adds accuracy to all the animals' EPDs. So that's another way we can add accuracy to our EPDs.